Welcome to another episode of Moonshots. As you know, every episode we bring you some of the most fascinating people from different walks of life, having amazing moonshots. Each one of them is meaningful, not just to them, something that actually inspires others to be at their best. And this episode is absolutely no exception. This week, I'm going to bring you a young man who's been dreaming about being at Olympic, and he's currently on the Olympic circuit for wrestling. So Angus, I guess it's easy to ask you what your moonshot is.
Yeah, well, my moonshot is obviously to be an Olympic champion and do that. So that's what it is.
Would you be representing our great country, or would you be representing some other country?
I would be representing the country of Jamaica. I'm actually a dual citizen, and so. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about that. So you're not going to be representing our great country with, stars and stripes on 4th of July. You're sitting here and talking to us about it, and you're going to be representing some other country. So how did that happen?
So it actually happened. My parents started going to Jamaica before I was even born, and so I first went there when I was about 2 months old, just a baby, and so we went probably about 4 or 5 times a year my whole life. So, I mean, I've been there almost probably 100 times. And it was such a big part of my life that I applied for citizenship there and got it. And I did wrestle for the U.S. actually on 2 world teams when I was 17 years old. I went to Serbia. And so my dad saw some stuff about like Jamaica starting up an Olympic or a wrestling federation. And I was like, wow, that would be really cool to help spread the sport, help do something different, be the first to do something and help start off a program in a country with a new sport. So I thought that would be a great opportunity for me.
And do the wrestling athletes look down on you that you not part of this great country?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to the U.S. Olympic Training Center in a couple weeks, and so they still welcome me there. There's not too much animosity, or they don't hate me. So I think it's been going good. I mean, it's getting a lot more common for, I think, the Olympics or wrestling and things like this that people will represent like a different country than the U.S. who have dual citizenship.
So interestingly, you're saying is that athletes are more of a world citizen, right? And you may represent the different flag, but as an athlete, you really represent the community of that sport. And they look at you just another athlete rather than what country you come from.
Yes, that is correct. I think especially with wrestling in particular, because it's not a huge sport, especially in America, is that like it's more of a close community of people. Like, I know all the guys who are the best guys in the U.S. or, so you get to know each other and there's more of a mutual respect than, let's say, like football where a zillion kids in America do it, so.
So why wrestling?
Why wrestling? Well, honestly, my favorite sport growing up was football, but I was better at wrestling. And so I just gave me more opportunities to do things and make a difference. And so that's why I stuck with wrestling.
Isn't the wrestling is like what you watch on TV, that people just like kind of all the fake stuff jumping on each other? And is that what the sport is?
No. That's the WWE and stuff like that. But this is Olympic style wrestling. So it's freestyle and Greco, and it's very different than the fake style of wrestling. Yeah.
How do you feel? I mean, as you sit here and you have this amazing dream of becoming an Olympic champion. I mean, obviously, the sports is tough, and there are a lot of kids at your age looking at you and saying, "Oh my God, imagine if I could do that. I am so good at tennis. I'm so good at this sports. I'm so good at this sports," and they all get discouraged because they just don't think it is possible. So, what is in you that makes you believe you can do it? And what would you tell other people who are just looking at you and saying, you can do that too?
Yeah. So I think the main thing is that you just have to believe in yourself. Any sport, 90% of it is mental. You can train as hard as you want to, or anyone can train hard, but it's really like in your mind and like what you believe. And I think a very important thing for me was my family, like how they supported me, like they've always believed in me. And so I think things like that add up and help you become like help you achieve your goals and a dream like this. And like my goal is not just to win the Olympics. Like wrestling has taught me so many lessons and things in my life and made me such a better and more mature person that I really want to give back to the sport. And the reason I'm representing Jamaica is because I want to help spread the sport there and help them so kids in Jamaica and people like that can have another sport to do that can help them, you know, learn a good work ethic, keep them off the streets, keep kids out of trouble. Like, I mean, wrestling is a sport that you get into it what you put out of it. So it's not like you can just like with running, you're just naturally really fast. It's really, you have to put in the effort to learn technique and things like that.
So you said you learned a lot from this game. So what are the things you learned from this game?
Well, one thing is discipline, because you have to like make your weight and you have to eat healthy and do all the right things. I mean, you can't be out partying every weekend and doing things like that. So you learn how to really dedicate yourself fully to a sport, because it's, I mean, with other sports, like I played football, like you could go out and do things, you know, go out and party on the weekend and still perform. But with wrestling, it's so demanding on your body that you can't afford to do those things. Like you have to eat healthy, like make the right decisions. And so it gave me really good discipline and obviously like a hard work ethic, because it's like you do it all year round. There's no off season. So it's different than other sports.
If you're eating right, you're probably using Viome, right?
Yeah, yes, I am.
As a sport, is this a dangerous sport? Are there a lot of people get hurt in this sport, or this is a sport that's something you actually, if you have a good technique, you don't get hurt?
Yeah, I would say honestly, the only time I've really been hurt is when I wrestled with someone who was bigger than me and not as experienced. Like if you know what you're doing, you know how to not get hurt. Like you know how to move your body and like prevent yourself from being hurt. So I think you can get hurt, but I don't think it's like as dangerous as like football with concussions or anything like that. I've never had a concussion, and yeah, I've been doing it for 16 years now or 17 years.
How old are you?
23.
Oh my God. So you've been starting when you were like 7 years old?
Yeah, 7 years old.
Oh my God. How did your parents deal with this stuff and saying, you know, instead of really becoming an entrepreneur, instead of going out and doing things that just normal people when they grow up, and you want to be an athlete and be a wrestler? I mean, how did they deal with that?
Well, I think my dad and my mom had a big part of it, obviously, because they have always told me you can work the rest of your life. You can go work a 9 to 5 or a normal job. And so is like they tell me to stay in school as long as I can. Like I want to be an attorney one day and to just pursue my dreams. And so my dad and mom have supported me, and obviously my sister and all other members of my family, by helping me like do this and really pushing me to be better. So
have you sacrificed college and education for this, or you're doing both?
No, I'm doing both. So I am going to take off. I have like 8 credits this fall to finish my degree in international relations. And then I'm going to take off half a year of school. And then I want to start up law school in the fall of 2020.
Wow. So you're going to be well educated. It's not that you're just simply wrestling an athlete, and if it doesn't work, then you're just nowhere to fall back on.
No. Yeah. And so that's another thing is like, I don't want to do sports forever. Like I want to do other things and do things that are bigger than just wrestling. Like I want to help spread the sport. I want to be a good attorney. I want to do all those types of things. I mean, I think some people who are into sports get sucked into it for too long. You know, they think like, oh, I can make the next Olympic year, and then they wait another 4 years and 4 years. And I just want to move on with my life. Like sports have been great for me, and like they've taught me so many great things, but like there's more things out there that I want to do.
What is one thing you look forward to as you go with your dream of becoming an Olympic champion?
I think just the experience and helping people learn more about wrestling and spreading the sport, because obviously, like you said, people think it's WWE and things like that, and it's not. It's a lot different, and it takes a lot of effort. And I think that a lot of people could benefit from doing this sport. It's a very unique sport, and then that you don't need a ton of equipment like hockey. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars. Like anyone can do it. Like some of the best wrestlers in the world are Cubans, and sometimes they're wrestling on like dirt. Like you only need yourself and another individual.
So Angus, here's what I would like you to do. Just imagine you just participated, you won the gold medal in an Olympic champion. You are an Olympic gold medalist athlete and wrestling. Describe to me what does it feel like to you?
Well, it would be overwhelming. That's for sure, because when you do something for 16 or 17 years, you've put so much time into it. I think
just close your eyes and imagine, describe to me what it feels like to, and see if you can imagine it. I know you can get there. So if it can be that vivid, you can feel it happening, you know it will happen.
Yeah, exactly. I would really be overwhelmed, and just, I think the biggest thing, I would be so thankful that I would be very thankful for my parents for all they've did for me by pushing me to do this, and all the other people, coaches and everything like that. And I would feel like I would feel accomplished. Like I would feel like all of this was for something more. Like even if I don't take gold, I would feel that way too. But I mean, obviously I want to win. But I don't know. I think it's something that I will have to feel when I get there to really, I don't think anyone can explain it until it happens.
Now, describe to me, you worked hard and everyone believes you're going to win gold. And somewhere in the qualifying round, you get hurt and you're saying, now I worked hard. I am the de facto winner. And I have to now wait 4 years. And that's a long time in life. How does that feel?
Well, I would be devastated, very devastated. That would be the worst case scenario. But things happen. I mean, you can't control things like that. So I would be very upset, but I don't think it wouldn't ruin my life. I wouldn't let it like ruin my life or dwell on me forever, but I would be very upset for a short time.
Yeah. So what are the people that you look up to, and how would they change your life? Is it other than your parents? I mean, who are the people in your life who have you surrounded yourself with that allow you to dream things of becoming an Olympic champion and support you?
Well, a big one would obviously be my sister.
Okay, tell me more about it.
Because she started her own business when she was young, and she's the definition of like hard work and dedication, and she's very driven. She, like, if she wants something, she gets it. Like, she doesn't care that she's a girl or things like that. She's a very strong person, and I think she's always supported me and pushed me to be better. And like, I've learned a lot from her and her boyfriend Adam, and they have really taught me like how to work harder and kept not settled, I guess, per se. Like, they've always pushed me like, oh, you never want to work like a small time job. Like, you have to like be great and do things like that. So I think they helped me a lot, my sister, and then just my wrestling coaches over the years. I mean, I've been blessed to have some really good coaches like Roger Massa, Chris Williams, Anthony Jones, people like that have always believed in me and kept me on the right track.
If you weren't wrestling, what would you be doing?
If I wasn't wrestling, well, that's a tough question. I would just be in school, probably like in law school by now. I probably would have graduated early instead of dragging it out, because it'll be, I think, 4.5 years when I graduate, just because I didn't want to overexert myself. But I don't think that much would change. Like, I still would want to be an attorney and do all the same things after I'm done wrestling.
Okay. Because I noticed that a lot of athletes, they dedicate their life to becoming a great athlete. They win the Olympic medals. They go out there, and then one day when they no longer can win, they become nobody. And they look back in life and say they have no skills, nowhere to go, and they're still young. And they got the rest of their life in front of them with no purpose. And that's the part I just always struggle. That as an athlete, you just absolutely live and breathe that sport. And when you no longer, because of age or other things, you can't, then who are you and what do you, and if you have no other purpose, how do you live rest of your life?
Yeah, I've seen that happen to a lot of my friends and people like that. You know, when they're done wrestling, they don't know what to do. Like, they don't know where they're going to work. I mean, you know, they were one of the best wrestlers in the U.S. and now they're working at Walmart or something like that. And so I think for my case in particular is that I've always been very diverse. Like, I've always traveled. I did 2 sports most of my whole life, so I wasn't overwhelmed with wrestling all the time. And so I think, I guess I could never do that or like fall apart in that way, I guess, because I'm so diverse. Like, I live on a farm. Like, I still help my dad do all the farm work and things like that. So I have so many different things going on. But to answer your question better, I think people, they put all their eggs into one basket per se for the wrestling, and they don't think of, or sports in general, not just wrestling, that they don't even see like the other big picture of life of like, I'm going to have to work one day. I'm like, you know, people like, I know my friends who are getting like general studies degrees and things like that just, I mean, what are you going to do with a general studies degree? I mean, there is things you can do, but like, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
So what would you tell people? I mean, they're looking at you, they're watching you, and they see this dream and say they want to be like you. What would be your advice that if you're going to dedicate your life to sport, you better have a fallback position. Find out what is your purpose beyond just what you're doing, because one day this will come to an end.
Yeah. I would say that you need to dedicate yourself, but you need to also hold yourself back to like see the bigger picture of that you can still go out with your friends. Like you can still do other things. Like I'm out here seeing my sister now. You can do these other experiences. Like just because you're doing a sport doesn't mean that's the only thing you can do, because if you get over invested into it, then if it doesn't work out, you're just finished.
Or even if it works out, you're finished.
Yeah, even if it works out, yes, you're finished. And so I think the big thing for me is like, I've always thought that education was the most important thing for me. Is like, I knew that I wanted to do something after wrestling, into like law school or med school or something like that. You can't give up your education and everything else just for a sport. You see it with people that go to the NFL that don't go to college, and then when they're done with football, they don't know what to do, like you were saying. So I think education is a big thing, and just being diverse, doing the things you want to do. Just because you dedicate yourself to a sport doesn't mean you can't play another sport. Like I see that with young kids a lot. They're good at wrestling or something like that, so then their parents make them quit football or basketball, and so then they get burnt out. And so I think you have to be able to do more than one thing. You can't, with anything you do, you can't just do one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know you do lots of different businesses and all these other things. You can't just do Viome if that was the only thing you did. You have to do a lot of other things too, because you're not stable. Yeah.
It makes you better at what you do. Yeah. If you start to think about the inspirations you have had, and as an athlete, you normally look up to other athletes. But if you are diversified, who are your other heroes out there that you look up to and saying, whether they were athlete or not, that you look up and say, you know, these were the people I want to be someday?
Well, one person for me would probably be Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
And because he stood up for what he believed in. Like, I'm not Muslim or anything like that, but he stood up for what he believed in, and he didn't care that other people didn't like it, and that he changed his name and things like that. And obviously his work ethic, that he's the best athlete of all time. But I think the main thing I like about Muhammad Ali is that he stood up for himself and like his own beliefs, and he didn't care what other people thought. And that's what, like, I've obviously took criticism for not wrestling for the USA and going to Jamaica and stuff like that. And so I feel like I can connect in a similar way like that.
And do you really believe that your purpose is to make that Jamaica as a country really give back to that country and make that country grow up? And most people sitting here in America probably don't even know where Jamaica is, right?
Yeah.
They think Jamaica is in New York or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They think exactly, or they just think it's Bob Marley, so.
The question is that, giving back and really improving the lives of the people that you're representing, and going back and simply using the podium that you have now gotten because of becoming an Olympic athlete or Olympic medalist, that gives you a place to essentially go out and educate people, inspire people, that they can achieve their own dreams, whatever they are.
Yeah. And so I want to do that. So it's obviously better if you have success, because then people can look up to you. But the reason I have wanted to do it is because Jamaica has been a big part of my life, and I've seen, struggles they have economically, and the youth, and they're only known for track, Usain Bolt, you know what I mean? And so not everyone can be a sprinter. Some people just aren't fast. I'm not that fast. And so I think wrestling can help expand the culture of Jamaica, so the youth and kids have another opportunity to do something else besides track that doesn't cost a lot of money. Jamaica does not have, it doesn't have as much money as the US. People aren't as privileged. And so wrestling is a perfect sport for someone who is poor. You don't have to have a lot.
Really. As an athlete, what are the things that you think the people can learn from athletes? What are the skills that you become as an athlete that other people in life say, these are the skills that can make me successful even if I'm not an athlete?
Well, a big one is just communicating and being around other people. If you're in a sport, you get into a group of people and you communicate with them, get better. So that is obviously a huge thing. You learn how to be around other people and push each other. I know especially wrestling is more of an individual sport, but I played football as well. And for football, you can obviously let off some steam, as you're a high school boy, if you want to, you have a lot of testosterone and stuff. So things like that are good, but
discipline, I suppose, right?
Yeah, discipline, obviously. Yeah, you have to you can't go out all the time. You have to eat the right foods. You have to be to practice on time. So all of those, the hard work. Yeah, the effort. With any sport, you pretty much get into it, get out of it what you put into it. So you learn lessons like that.
Anything at this point, if you were to give advice to people, not just about being a great Olympic athlete, but just being a great human being, what would be your advice to them?
My advice would be to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself with anything you do. If you don't believe you can do it, then you never will. And I see a lot of people that doubt themselves and then they fail. You have to, even if you're not the best, you have to believe you're the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to fake it to make it. One of my coaches used to tell me that. There's lots of times when I don't want to work out because my body's sore or I want to do something else, but it's just you have to mentally change your mentality to be I have to do this, so.
So Angus, is there any other things? This has been absolutely fascinating. That not many times many people get to hear from someone who is on the verge of that success of becoming an Olympic medalist here, right? And a lot of people are looking at this stuff and say, God, I wish I was sitting on that chair talking about this stuff, about my dreams. So how would you just give a final word of wisdom to the people? Obviously you've given a lot of the things already that, believe in yourself, that everything is possible. Is there anything else you want to add to the people as we wrap up here?
I think a big thing is to have a support system. With anything, you have to have the right coaches and family and people around you to make you better. It's very hard to be a one-man band per se, you know? So the main thing is really putting yourself around the right people, I guess would say. You can choose who your friends are, who your coaches are. Obviously not your family, but you can choose those other things, and those variables add up because those are the people you're around and you're like. And so if that would be something I would say besides the other things I talked about is surrounding yourself with the right people that know how to push you, know how to make you better, do the right things when you're not doing a sport, off of the, other things.
Well, amazing, Angus. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this podcast, and look forward to having you.
Yeah, thank you a lot.
Thank you.